Yeah. All right. See you soon. Within your world, there have been many great teachers and masters. There are those which have lived many years ago and those not so long ago. There are some which are currently living. And often there is wise words and scripture to be followed. At times this scripture has been mistranslated or poorly used. But the essence of the teaching is true, still truly there. Within the teaching, there is many wise words, many instructions, and also many methods that are passed that the aspirant could follow. There are times when these instructions or these exercises can be given while you live your daily life, and deeper instruction if you were to retire from your regular life. There are instructions where you must do and instructions where you must not do. And all of this is generally freely available. And yet the progress of man is at best rather slow. And the gradual creeping forward in either ability, understanding, or realization is millimeter by millimeter, when in truth it could be step by step. You see, man builds up a false self, an illusionary self, an egoic self, a picture of who they should be or who they think they are, and then makes very vain attempts to destroy this self. But I suppose when you look at the nature of evolution, those who are unaware of life beyond the physical form, the possibility, the reality, well, their ignorance is bliss, and they know nothing of it and continue their life. They may have a little desire, but that is all. So, in essence, they see no problem. And those enlightened also see little or no problem. It appears that it's only the ones in the middle that seem to have the problem. Those walking the path, those stripping away the old to reveal the ever existing. And it is in part this we will look at next year within the different groups. The further stripping away and the intensifying of practice, which is simple, not practices which are complex, practices which are simple, sometimes not so easy, but simple. One of the greatest blocks that people face is really the desire for change. Where they are, of course, appears to be, well, relatively comfortable. It is understandable. I can work with this. I know what will happen in the next minute, or at least I believe I do. And if I make these vague attempts, and I will call myself spiritual, and I will rise above the masses, and then I, at some stage, will achieve liberation. And yet this is also fraught with the difficulty, the challenge, the resistances. And if you ask that person, say, well, do you want to make progress? Of course I do. Are you making effort to make this progress? Of course I am. Well, what effort are you making? Well, I may meditate once in a while. I read the appropriate scripture, and I meet once or twice a week with a like-minded group. Well, that's wonderful. It is said in Zen that every path can lead you to Zen. From the complex to the simple, the highbrow, the lowbrow, can lead you to the point of understanding what Zen is. And Zen becomes used in everyday life for every person that is a true aspirant and student of Zen Buddhism. It is equally said in other religions and followings. But the one who is to make the true progress is not necessarily one that must lock themselves away in a cave, but one who truly wants to be awake and to see the world in its truth. And if I was to ask you, then perhaps you would agree and say, yes, that is what I would like. I would like a sense of true being. I would like to be awake. I would like to be realized, enlightened, understanding of the world and myself. But the answer, you see, is rather weak and insignificant. It is only when there is a passion on the inside that true change will take place. The change that must take place from holding on to the old self, when in truth this is just a letting go and revealing of the true self, the spiritual self. And it was Buddha that said that if you truly want this, then you should live your life as if you are in a room with no window and no door, and you've just discovered a king cobra in the corner. What chance of sleep will you have then? Now, in essence, this is meaning that during your daily life, you remember your practice. You bring your practice into life. You bring your meditation into living of life. It is not just a practice for 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes in the evening. It's being aware that at times you may drift out of your practice into the difficulties, into the human. It's being aware that at times you may feel the rise of anger, of frustration, of temptation, and your practice comes then. Now, this is relatively easy to follow. and to grow and to build and to become. But you must have at this stage one who can guide and lead you. Because it'd be all too common for ones just to practice in dawn and dusk and forget about the rest of the day. But with the support of others, then the manifestation of your spiritual self will occur more frequently during your day. Hence, those who begin their practice start to see more spiritual connection during their times of practicing all sorts of spiritual skills and exercise. So the fruit becomes more visible. This is not the end. This is a sign for go deeper. Affirm your practice. Get the right practices. Get the right skill set. If you remember the story of the Swami who sat by the river, who purely learned concentration, well, how wonderful was that? But it was not the right path. How wonderful would it be for you if you practice a particular modality? Well, you could become quite proficient, but that is not necessarily the right path. Maybe you could sit in meditation for a day, but without the right instruction. Then what is the point in that? So over the course of time, next year, we'll be guiding those on the right path to bring their practices into their daily life, for their spiritual connection not just to be a little bit here and a little bit there, so that it is part of life. Imagine what the spiritual experiences would be then, if there was any. All this is leading somewhere. It is not just to allow 20, 30, 40, 50 people to open, but it is for those that truly want their connection. Those which say, I want this, I will do it, I will be awake in my day. And to those, it will be given. And it will be given with the support and consistency that Spirit can give. So you see, reading a spiritual book, meeting a spiritual group once a week, perhaps meditating once or twice per day, is the beginning. It is not the end. And it is then that the scripture truly becomes important. The wise words, the directions you must go. Because prior to that, the words perhaps weren't truly understood. Nice words, but what do they mean? But now, it is nice words. I understand. Show me how I should work with them. And the spiritual life then becomes open. becomes expressive, it becomes true. The connection of spirit is constant. The messages of spirit are all around at all times. The little signs, verifications, validations happen multiple times, perhaps each day, maybe even each hour or so. But that is not the important thing. The important thing is knowing and sitting and being in the truth and letting spirit flow through you, through your mind, into your life and seen in the world. The world needs light, not for 1 minute, but for all day. For all the troubles you face in your life, some relatively minor and maybe some relatively large. For the difficulties that are yet to come, for the pains you are yet to experience, for the challenges of the environment all around you, for the awakening that must occur. You were made for such an occasion. So perhaps we should go to the healing list. May I have those names now, please, Brenda?
Josh, Kenny, and Taylor, Vivian, Barbara, Sheila, Lucy, Catherine, and Beth, Sharon R., Carrie F., Steve and Denise Wareham, Holly Norton, Karen S., Graham and Wendy Beck, Stephanie, and Jane. Thank you.
So, Brandon, I believe we may have a topic that you wish to pose for me to talk about.
Yes, we have Amanda Kleinman. She has a question on the topic of karma. She's here with us. So, Amanda, would you like to go ahead with your question?
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Hi, Ignatius.
Good morning. Good evening, my dear.
Thank you so much for being with us this morning or night. I understand that the intention of our groups is to prepare us for meeting God. And I have been wondering, to be ready to do that, does that mean we need to release or neutralize every bit of karma we've accumulated in this lifetime and in past lifetimes? And I'm imagining that maybe that's something we'll be working on next year, but to have clarification on how to go about that would be wonderful.
The way to meet God. Well, in essence, in the real truth, you are already in contact, communication with God, because you are part of the divine itself. You are but a spark in a flame, but a very important spark. The issue is not whether you can or should, it's how do you realize, and how then do you hold that connection consistently, rather than at best a brief glimpse for a second or two? Now, it is very common that people would go into a form of practice, and during that practice, they may have times where they feel love for no reason, or even happiness for no reason, a feeling of connectedness, a feeling of total peace. Now, I'm not talking about just minor experiences here, but rather undescribable experiences. And these times, when this time of joy, the time of peace, the time of contentment, the time of connectedness, when they arrive, they may last a few seconds, but potentially they may last a few days, and even a few months, possibly even a year. And in that time, they enjoy, let us say, the blissful, all-knowing, all-connected state. Now, it is far more common that the individual have a glimpse of a second, maybe, or two of reality, and then come out of that reality. In fact, in any time of meditation, just the glimpse for, let us say, a 2-second glimpse of something other, well, that is the joy of spiritual connection. And it shows to you, or shows to the person, that there is something. Often it is indescribable. And often there's no one there to witness that experience. It's just the experience. So if you remember the story of the Swami we have spoken about earlier, well, he drifted off into his state of nothingness, but came back to the world, if you remember. And this happens frequently in people who practice their meditation. They glimpse the other side and they must return to the physical life. What is occurring is the person, for a brief period of time, is breaking down the barriers that are in the way or hindering the connection to their true self. And as one practices various skills, then those barriers may tumble down for a short period. Now, it is very possible that one who does not practice at all, has never meditated, has never undertaken any instruction, or even has spiritual aspiration, could fall into this state for a brief period as well. And here, then, there is the glimpse, as I said, of the other side. In truth, for a brief period, they have let go of humanness and open to at least the beginning or the tip of the iceberg of spiritualness. So it is quite, well, it is not uncommon for these experiences to occur. And they will occur for people at random times. Now, they must occur at random times, because one who sets a path that today at 12 o'clock I will meet God and we will have a little coffee together and carry on along our way after a nice little chat, then, well, that will not occur. The point I'm making is it must happen at times when the one practicing has let go of the physical life for a while. So it generally happens at times of stillness, of calm, of peace. But all too often, one comes back and returns to their normal life, as opposed to retaining that connection forevermore. And therefore, what has occurred for them is they have desired the physical life more than they have desired the truth behind it. So let us shorten the words. They have desired life. And this desire for life means there is constant birth and rebirth. Now, I'm using a broad description of life. It could include many sub-factors. So again, you can see a connection to my opening words. Because there was a desire for life, they did not want or wish to do the spiritual practice, or they desired for the quality of life, the fruit of life. So life repeats because there is memory. So you remembered what it was like 1,000 years ago or something, and then you wanted to do it again, or to do the opposite to that, or learn from it, or take it one step further, or to do it in another direction with another person. So on transition from life into reality, when the physical body crumbles, then one who goes across the veil with a desire for, well, I enjoyed that life and I want to do it again, or the opposite, I did not enjoy that life and I do not want to do it again, which of course is another desire. Or I am never going back to that place ever again. I do not want another birth. It's too hard, too difficult. I am done with that place called Earth. In all three examples, then the rebirth is pretty much guaranteed. And if there's no spiritual understanding, the birth can happen in the blink of an eye. You cross the veil, you look into the other side, and then, oh, I'm off again. There we go, the journey is done. So those people at the moment who are worshipping their bodies and saying how beautiful their bodies are, in essence, are creating the next life and the next life. When they want the most perfect body next time, the more perfect time after. Desire. Desire, attachment, avoidance are in part the three things which will rebirth any soul. And interestingly, the three topics we begin our discussion with next term will be fear, desire, and attachment. So, if you were to touch God, to open your eyes to this being, and just to experience it for a glimmer, what brings you back away from that truth into the life, the humanness, the earth, is a holding on to the humanness and a desire for it. How do you remove that desire, that holding on, or even that fear? Is to step beyond them, step through them, to see them for what they are, and to then look down on them and say, there is fear. I see it. Is it true? And you step towards it. Now you know this practice. You step towards it and you look that fear in the eye and say, I am here, fear. And if you are true to your stare, fear can only minimize and shrink. Turn away from it, it grows. Turn towards it, it shrinks. So isn't it interesting then that you face the fear? You can get caught in, I'll pick my words carefully, you get caught in the whirlpool of desire. You get caught in comfort. You get caught in the belief that I cannot. I will be weakened or minimized. You are trapped by your own comfort zone. And all of these, if they are not used and practiced and developed, will retain and give us certainty that life will be lived another time. Again, and maybe again and again. So the issue is not whether you can meet God, because that is certain. The likelihood is you'll get glimpses of something which you may not be able to put a label on of being God, and may call it love and peace. And there's times in experience that you will not even experience an experience. But then the being, the individual, pulls away from that joy and looks towards the limited. If you remember some of my opening words, man builds a false self and then makes a vain attempt to get over it. So the truth is, if you want to meet God, you can and you will. What I ask is, let go of the human self. And the first thing, or one of the things that people may say, yes, I would like to, but I don't have any time today. Okay. I would love to meet God and gain all the riches that are available there, but I have a meeting this afternoon. I must prepare. But I have to cook dinner. I have to go shopping. I have to. You see, if they truly wanted God, they would just let go of that. And the truth is, there's no have to. There is, that is what you pick. I'm sick of this fear. Well, stop picking it then. I can't. You can, but you just keep choosing it. I am caught in this relationship. Well, let go of it then. I can't. You can. You just choose it each time. What are you choosing now? What do you choose? This is why support and guidance is important. Imagine the layman at this stage without a support system. What's their chances of letting go of having to go shopping and choosing to meet God? Now, it sounds rather flippant, doesn't it? But you are all picking all these things all of the time. And only those will change, the ones who are awake as if there is a cobra in the room. And if you are truly there, if you are truly wanting the change, and needing a little help to let go of certain things, to be reminded of what you are doing or not doing is holding on. At them times, their support will be made available to you. Sound familiar? Now, that support may come from the physical world or the non-physical world, but in essence, it is coming from the non-physical. Just appears in the physical world. Just as the teacher appears to be a physical form. But in essence, they are working internally in your heart and will be there long after the physical form has gone. So, to answer your question, letting go and moving away from is needing a little assistance, but then choose to do it, choose to do the work, and you will be supported and helped all the way. It is not as difficult as some will make it out to be. But it will mean, do you want it? Or are you just giving me the vain words that are nice to say and nice to hear yourself say? Because I lay at your feet, and I am talking generally, my dear, not specifically to you. I lay at your feet everything that you need to change. To meet God, to sit and have that coffee at midday, and to stay there as long as you want. And then maybe never having a birth on earth again. Or you can eat, sleep, repeat. How did I go on with the answer? Did you like that?
Quite comprehensive and thorough. I appreciate it and you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. There is much for us to talk about with you. I'm sure
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Yes. I give it you all. It's up for you to take it. God bless you, my dear.
Thank you. Good night.
Brandon, is there another topic to talk about?
Yes, we have Milada. She has a question regarding souls.
Hi, Ignatius. I asked this question on behalf of one of my students. She feels that she has a gift for helping souls who are trapped to cross over, but she had someone tell her that that is not something that actually happens, that it's not true. So she's feeling quite conflicted. And so I said I would bring this topic to your attention to see what Spirit has to say about assisting souls to cross over.
In essence, the soul is, or what is a soul, is the point of the question. Now, soul, of course, is a non-physical individual. So it's still individual in form, hence you will have many souls. And at its certain level, it is still very individual and related to one person. That soul will create the experiences that are necessarily in the physical life. So it is a storehouse of, well, let us say, desires and karmas, and lives according to the desire and karma, and lives through a process of creating a life and the experiences that are needed to have with the intention of clearing karma or gaining experience. So it picks a path and says, well, the life will be born on the 1st of January and will live for 100 years and perhaps finish on the 31st of December. And during that time, an event will be here, the learning must be there, and another event that is important will be there, etc. And the human life comes into existence and then begins the process. And during that process, then the soul creates the level or the end point that it wishes. Karma can change that desire slightly and make it slightly bigger or slightly less, according to the karmic needs or karmic issues, the memories. And so the life is lived. So you could say that the soul is basically mind. Mind that is not between the ears, but is mind outside of the ears, the brain, the skull. And in that process, then what would normally happen, assuming the word normal very loosely, is on the 31st of December, or whatever date that soul decides the life will finish, that body will come to an end, and then the soul would break its connection to that body and not look at that life any longer, but will have all the memories of it. And it may have already begun another life. So a fragment of that soul may return back, assuming the soul is capable of living more than one life at a time, which is related to its evolution. So the normal process is the breaking to the body, and the awareness now is open and waiting for its next birth, which may happen fairly instantly. At times, then, the soul is so attached to the life that is once lived that it may have resistance in breaking the connection to that body or that lifetime. So because of that, then the soul pulls back slower and does not return to its true home of itself. So that process may look like the soul is trapped, and perhaps in a strange word that may have some relevance, that the soul then is not withdrawing from that life because the karma or the attachment or the desire is still there. Now, you see then that that soul is still watching the life. It's not believing that it is dead. It still feels alive in the world and would walk around the world for a short period and say, why can nobody see me, etc. And in your world, you say that there is a soul trapped and you need to help them. Go to the light, my friend, etc. Now, the soul itself would withdraw from the body fully in time. That time may be naturally just a second or two, or maybe a few days, but generally it is not much longer. But once in a while, that soul is so attached to what was once lived that all the attention from that soul is into the life, and it believes it's still living the experience, has not fully stepped back. Now, I suppose now you would say that validates what you're terming as soul rescue or something. Now, the soul is never broken. So there is no break here. For some reason, the soul is choosing to hold on rather than let go. Again, there's that word attachment. In a short period of time, that detaching will take place naturally. And I would assure you that will give some certainty that that soul will be born again to be around the person, the place, or the circumstance that was lived before. Now, if you can be clever here, and if you can take your understanding one little step deeper, you can see here the issue of thought. Thought being the belief of a body, the belief in the experience, the focusing of the mind in a certain way on a certain thing. And then, of course, missing the truth beyond it. And you would, or you plurally, would experience this yourself. So at times you're doing one, let us say, one piece of work, and your mind drifts to something and you hold that and you drift away and maybe daydream about times gone by or beliefs to come, belief in the times to come. And then in a fraction of a second later, you realize you've drifted away. You go, oh, and you come back to the task at hand. Do you know that experience, my dear?
Yes, of course. Yes.
I just like to make it right. So you can see it happening right now. That the mind is holding something it perhaps does not necessarily want to hold, missed the point, and then is attached to this second thing for a short period of time until the soul says, oh, that's what I was meant to be doing. And you snap back to where you were or where you should be. Now, that process of snapping back may be an external sound, a click of the fingers, which will jar the loss of mind, if you would like, the daydream, or a nudge, but it would just happen naturally in a period of time as well. So, of course, there can be people who profess that they are rescuing souls which are trapped in between the two worlds. And to some degree, you could say, well, yes, okay. But it will happen naturally in time anyway. Someone in spirit will click their fingers, if you would like, and the soul would realize what's happening and would awaken again. Or using other language, the soul that's pretending to live the life once more would turn the head towards the light and then go back. So it's making a career out of something which really does not need a career. But at the same time, it's not time wasted either. So if you relate it back to your physical life, you can see how this possibly could happen. And anyone that loses themselves no end in daydreams has more potential for this to occur. So if you were to train that person, the one who, the soul that comes attached to the physical world for a bit longer than it need, you would train the soul or train the mind to have focus. How would you do that? Well, you would pick certain aspects they should concentrate on. And then things will happen in their natural way. So the answer to your question is both, of course, yes and no. Yes, it may occur. It's infrequent. Is it necessary to rescue the soul? Well, no, it is not. Can I be of assistance? Well, yes, you can. Which sounds like a contradiction. Hence, you also will see that there are 2 points of view. Both are right and both are not the complete story. Now, there are extremes. I suppose there's always extremes. There are extremes where the soul may choose to come back and to live an aspect of that life once more, which again is because of a desire. And that soul once more may reduce its vibration to experience the touch of the ocean, the heat of the sun, the smell of cooking food. Is that soul needing rescue? Well, not rescue, but the soul is needing work and clarity on what should be done. So this is all still a play, isn't it? That the soul believes it's back in that life, believes it's living that life, where in truth it's not living the life, it's experiencing. And he believes it's individual, which is just another thought, when in truth it is already connected and a part of the Supreme Being. So you see, the two questions are almost related. What is the issue facing man? And that is the belief in man, the belief in the physical. Changing the words, the issue is the belief in the body. And you step away from it by doing the work and awakening to your truth. Initially in short practices, and then in time bringing the work into the whole of life in the most beautiful, complete way, from glimpses of love which you cannot understand, to the flow of love through each being into the world. So the importance of the work to be done. If I'd have said to you, or to plurally, of course, that in the first part of next year we'll be dealing with fears, attachments, and desires, so that you will never be born again. Well, it sounds like a rather grand claim that cannot have real substance. But in essence, it takes us along that path. How to see beyond the limited. I trust this helps you and your students, my dear.
Yes, thank you so much, Ignatius, as always. Thank you.
Was it clear enough for you?
Very much so. And more. Thank you.
When it can be related back to one's life, then it feels a lot more truthful, and you can connect to the answers far better.
Yes.
Be at peace, my dear.
Thank you.
Take the bowl. You will understand.
I do.
Brandon, is our time now complete?
Yes, it is. I have a quick comment, if I may.
You may.
So as we begin to take a short break and celebrate the time of giving, I would like to thank you and the medium on behalf of everyone. Your service to others is the true spiritual essence of what it means to give, and not for the purposes of receiving praises or accolades. So on the verge of opening up my transient emotions, I would be remiss to not at least just simply say thank you from all of us. So we thank you and we appreciate you. And I also would like to thank the regular participants who come here and take part in our weekly gathering. It's always great to see the devotion. So we all look forward to coming back together again next year. Thank you.
Come into your dream to wake you up. God bless you until we meet again next time. Enjoy your life and bring peace into your life. And feel that first before you undertake any activity. God bless you.